My name is Sherry Turner, and I'm the Executive Director of the Kansas City Women's Business Center. We've been around for 18 years, and we are a collaborative partner of the WBDC. The Connect and Celebrate events, they're just so amazing that we're able to put procurement officers and match them with the women-owned businesses. And it's a big deal for women-owned businesses in terms of looking at the growth of their business. Yeah, so a lot of the national data just proves this out. It's very important that corporations diversify the procurement, and we have really great partners in the Kansas City market, corporate partners that are very intentional about this. But it does take understanding the capacity of what business owners are available to be able to do these services. This just makes it a whole lot easier. It streamlines the process.
I'm Chris Kelly, Metropolitan Community College, and I am the Supplier Diversity Coordinator for MCC. Well, you know what? Not only by the WBDC, just being certified in general help us with our supplier diversity goals. MCC is not so much focused right now on certification. We accept self-certification, but those business owners who are certified are the only ones that I can count their dollars toward our diversity goals, because they have proven, and it has been determined by organizations like the WBDC, that they are certified women-owned businesses, and we can count on that certification. So it is very important. Other organizations, if you're not certified, they can't do business with you. So it's very key.
I'm Denise Cruz. I'm CEO and owner of Adams Gabbard. And Adams Gabbard is a consulting business outcomes firm based here in Kansas City. And we specialize in IT, staffing, recruiting, project management, business analysts, etc., and consulting, and then Microsoft Office 365 cloud services. We try ourselves to be diverse. We have a diverse group of employees. But from supplier diversity, I always go into the conversation with, we want to talk to you based on what we could fulfill a need that you have. Not the lead in is we're a WBE, because I believe there should be value that we bring to the relationship, and that we have a solution that we can provide, we have a need that we can meet, and want to understand what their need and expectation is. And then I always believe if you have diversity, you have diversity of thought. You have diversity of all kinds, and the last thing we all want to do is all be great at the same things and all be horrible at the same things. So my team is extremely diverse in all areas, and that's by design and on purpose. And I believe that helps us as a part of our growth. Our rapid growth has been because we're not afraid to employ all kinds of people that think different.
My name is Mary McNamara, and I'm the owner of Cornell Roofing and Sheet Metal. I find these types of meetings to be extremely valuable, because in order to get businesses to become friendly with you, they've got to get to know you. And these are opportunities that these larger companies can get to know the smaller businesses, and you can really start out to build a relationship with them. My company currently holds the roofing contract for all of Kansas City, Missouri buildings for the city. And we are required as the prime contractor to make sure that we meet both M and WBDC goals in all of our work that we do for the city. So it is very important, because it also gives us a chance to bring along perhaps smaller companies that are a little bit smaller than us and help them to succeed.
My name is Valerie Tucker. I am sourcing manager at Sprint Corporation. I am responsible for a team that source indirect goods for the company. My company, Sprint, is a corporate member, and I was asked to come and participate on the panel today. So Sprint, as you know, we have a huge customer base, and we would like for the money that we spend to reflect the same type of diversity as our customer base. So we really try to work with minority, women-owned, disabled vet, LBGT organizations, so that we can make sure that our suppliers reflect our customers.
My name is Gina Fitzgerald. I'm a Global Procurement Director at Hallmark Cards, and I have responsibility for all indirect procurement, so non-product related procurement, direct materials, so all raw materials that go into the plants, and procurement operations, which includes supplier diversity. Don Hall Sr. actually founded the Minority Supplier Council in the late 1960s. So we have a long history of commitment to growing diverse suppliers. But if you think about our business, what I would tell you is we serve a diverse consumer. And so it's critical that our workforce represents diversity, that our suppliers represent diversity, so that we can serve that diverse consumer most effectively.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to WBDC Connect and Celebrate Kansas City. My name is Ann D'Angelo, and I'm the Associate Director of our Kansas City Satellite Office. And I am just thrilled that all of you are here and would like to thank our corporate partners and our community and our WBEs for investing your time this afternoon with us. We are very excited to have you here today, and I want to thank our generous Kansas City host, Kansas City Power and Light, for this wonderful venue and for all that Kansas City Power and Light has done to light up our city with respect to WBE certification and diverse support services. As the WBDC works to expand our regional market presence, our aim is to give WBEs greater access to resources to grow their businesses, expand their capacity, and increase their access to corporate and government contracting opportunities. For the last several years, the Center has been holding a series of capacity-building events in each of our Center's 5 key markets. Today is the 3rd event this year. We kicked off 2018 Connect and Celebrate in Minneapolis on March 1st and continued on to St. Louis May 7th, and here we are today. The next Connect and Celebrate is going to be held in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on July 31st. And of course, all of our regional events culminate in the WBDC's big annual event in Chicago, which is being held this year on September 14th at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare. We certainly hope to see all of you in Chicago. So a big thanks again for being here today. And now I'd like to introduce you to Georgia Marsh from our Chicago office. Georgia is our Chief Development Officer, and she plays a significant role in the connection of our regional expansion. Georgia?
Thank you, Ann, and a big round of applause for Ann, because I know how invaluable she's been. Well, welcome. We are so happy that everybody would join us here today, and it's a testament to everybody in this room about how committed you are to small business, and in particular to diverse businesses in the greater Kansas City area. Our mission is quite simply to assist our business owners, especially women and diverse populations, succeed in a constantly changing marketplace. We assist our business owners to adapt, to survive, but most importantly, to grow. You know, and as we say at the WBDC, your growth is our business. And for sure, last year showed that. And I want to read just a couple of statistics. Last year, the WBDC in all of our 9-state footprint certified over 1,850 WBEs. That represented $11.5 billion in revenue and hiring over 86,000 individuals. So that's really very, very impressive. And we achieved it by working together. As we always say at the WBDC, when we work together, we do better. I'd like to now echo what Ann said and acknowledge our host. First, we're going to hear from Kansas City Power and Light and from Maria Wilson from Strategic Sourcing, who will give the welcome but also give us the rules of the afternoon. Maria.
And thank you again. We appreciate the fact that the WBDC is here today. Again, thank you. Just a couple housekeeping rules to let you know. The men's and ladies' room, we're straight down this hall over here on the left-hand side. And in the event of evacuation, we ask that you go across the street towards the corner where Constantino's is. And as part of the KCP&L culture, any meetings with an excess of 3 or more people, we always started off with a safety topic. So, of course, we have more than 3 people here today. And safety topic that I gave yesterday, I want to go ahead and repeat it again today because I think it's very timely. And as you know, we're all going on vacations. If we haven't already, we intend to go on vacation sometime soon. And a couple things to remember is to make copies of your IDs and passports and leave a copy at home if in the event you get lost. It gets lost, somebody can send it over to you via fax or any other measure. We also ask that you double check if you're going to go on some rides. As you know, we have found out as a result of the Schlitterbahn incident that's taken place over a year ago, we found out that there were a couple safety measures that were overlooked, licensing and those kind of things. So all of us have a smartphone. I encourage you to look and see if there's any rides you're going to take to make sure that they don't have any safety incidences. After all, you're putting your loved ones on those rides. The other thing is be aware of your surroundings and also take a look at the weather. You know, in the last 2 months, we've had incidences in Thailand, and here we had the duck boat incident where the weather was very instrumental in the outcome of those incidences. So be cautious of that. And again, you have your precious cargo, which is your family, and let your maternal and paternal instincts kick in. If you think that they need to put a life vest on, even though no one else does, by all means, please do so. You only have one opportunity to save them. And lastly, don't stand out. Blend in with the crowd. If you come and see me when I'm in Florida, I hope that you never do. There's no makeup, flip-flops, and shorts, and I definitely blend in with the crowd. And lastly, we want to make sure that, hold on, I forgot. Avoid oversharing online. Do that when you get back home. Somebody's watching your house. And that's it, and have a wonderful time today.
Thank you very much. I think those are really important messages that we all need to follow. I'd like to also acknowledge our major sponsors for our Connect and Celebrate series. The Deluxe Corporation, who is our lead business partner, and certainly has helped the WBDC out over the past 5 years. They're out of Minnesota. And U.S. Bank, our Supplier Diversity Forum series. So, I just want to find out a little bit here. Can all of the WBEs in the audience please stand up? Please give yourselves a round of applause for taking that step. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Please sit down. Can all of our current corporate partners that are here, either from Kansas City or any of our other areas, please stand up? We want to thank you for helping to be that demand side where we have our WBEs as a supply side and working to get them diverse suppliers into your supply chain. And now my final stand-up. For all of those corporations that are in the room that are not corporate partners, can you please stand up? Nobody wants to stand up? Well, I can say that we hope to have you on board and working with some of these other great corporations and our women's business enterprises in the upcoming year. So today's panel, Leaders Learning from Leaders, How the Current Economy is Impacting Procurement Trends. It promises to be a very informative and timely conversation. Serving as our moderator today is Maria Jenks, and many of you will, if you just look in your program, you'll see a little bit about Maria. But I want to tell you a little bit that I've heard of the facts that aren't in there. No. This is not a roast. Okay. First of all, Maria has been a steadfast advocate for supplier diversity, willing to benchmark with others and give so much of her time and effort to a cause that means a lot to us. Second of all, Maria helped start the Kansas City Procurement Roundtable for area corporations to get together and exchange best practices. Here in her own corporation, she's working to take the company to the next level and raise the bar for supplier diversity. And as one of her colleagues said, we would not be where we are today if it wasn't for Maria. So I give you Maria Jenks, the moderator of our panel.
Thank you. That was very nice. Yeah, I wasn't sure. That was not rehearsed. Thank you all for being here today. Really appreciate that. We are honored to be able to host this event. And I think the topic for the panel, which is the impact of the current economy on procurement trends, I think is a real timely one, given everything that is going on in our environment. So we have a great panel. I can't say enough about these ladies up here. Before I get to that, though, just a few opening comments, and then we'll do some introductions. But don't need to tell this group, but entrepreneurship really is a key driver of prosperity and competitiveness in the U.S. And women's entrepreneurship has been on the rise for the last couple of decades. As of January 2017, there were 11.6 million women-owned businesses in the United States, employing nearly 9 million people and generating more than 1.7 trillion in revenues. Clearly, women-owned businesses are economic engines to this economy, driving growth and helping enhance innovation in corporations like ours as well. So another recent survey came out, January 2018, Small Business Economic Trends, saying that a record number of small business owners are saying that now is a good time to expand. Small business owners are not only reporting better profits, but they're also ready to grow and expand. So that all seems like it's a really great time for small and diverse businesses to access opportunities with major corporations. On the other hand, CVM Solutions in their 2017 State of Supplier Diversity report found that diverse suppliers were cited as one of the top challenges impacting supplier diversity programs. So today, as we look at how the current economy is impacting procurement trends from the perspectives of corporate procurement leaders as well as WBEs are creating for growth in the current market. And I look forward to hearing what our esteemed panel has to say about all that. So by way of introduction, I thought we would just first start out and have each of you introduce yourself, say a little bit about your background and your organizations, and go from there. And first, we'll start with you, Chris, and thank you very much. Chris is pinch hitting for Elizabeth Stoltz, who was going to be here, but just wasn't feeling well today. So I appreciate your stepping in today for that. I think you did. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay,
first.
I'm Chris Kelly, and I am the program coordinator of Supplier Diversity for Metropolitan Community College. Is that it?
No.
Oh, you want me to say more?
No, you don't answer. Whatever you want.
I've been in supplier diversity over 25 years, so I guess you can say it is my passion. It is something that I live and breathe for, because I do believe in the small minority business. You are the thread. You are the thread of our nation, so I'm with you.
And I should say, Chris received the Supplier Diversity Award from the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce yesterday. Valerie.
Good afternoon. My name is Valerie Tucker. I am a manager in our sourcing organization at Sprint Corporation. And thank you for having me this afternoon. It is such an opportunity to be here. I recognize a lot of faces. I've been in this community working with diverse suppliers for a long time, so it's great to see some new faces and some old faces that I haven't been able to connect with in a long time. Sprint Corporation is very dedicated to diverse suppliers. We have a very strong supplier diversity department led by Joyce Cristiano. Yes. And I told Joyce, I said, today was my opportunity to kind of highlight some of the things that Joyce and her team has been doing. And so if you just give me a minute, I'd love to share some of that. So this year, Sprint is being recognized by Minority Business News USA as a 2018 Best of the Decade corporation for all of our diversity efforts. Yes, and last year, Joyce and her team worked together with our procurement department to bring in over $800 million in diversity spend. So those are great numbers, and it's just the efforts of Joyce working very closely with our supply chain department to work together to do all that we can to bring in diverse suppliers.
Great, thank you.
I'm Gina Fitzgerald, and I'm a Global Procurement Director at Hallmark Cards here in town. I've been with the company for 25 years, and I always tell people I started when I was 10, if you're trying to do the math, so just want to say that. I probably spent half of my career in procurement. I worked with Chris a number of years ago when she was on the Minority Supplier Council, so in and out of procurement all of my career, but definitely always a passion for diversity. Hallmark has a long history of a commitment to diversity. Matter of fact, Don Hall Sr. Founded the Minority Supplier Council in the late 1960s here, or was a co-founding member. And so we've had a long-standing commitment to ensuring that we have diverse suppliers. And that's because the product that we make and sell is selling to a diverse consumer. So it only makes sense that we focus on diversity from a workforce perspective and from a supplier perspective. So long history of that. We're always looking to connect with new suppliers. We do have goals. Our goal is to achieve at least 7% of our spend with diverse suppliers. For us, we look at minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and members of LGBT community as the classifications of diversity. And what we're talking about in the coming years is maybe there's a metric that we add around ensuring we have diverse suppliers as a part of the actual RFP. So today we're measuring results on the spend side, but how do we make sure there's inclusion when we're going to market? And so that would be something that we're investigating. A lot of companies have that, but we don't track that today at procurement. We have some new technology that might give us that capability in the future. So excited to be here and honored to serve with this team of panelists who are also committed to diversity.
Thanks, Gina.
Well, hello, I'm Denise Cruz, and I am owner of Adams Gabbard. And Adams Gabbard is a business outcomes consulting firm. So we work with companies in staffing and recruiting, in consulting and payroll services, and then our newest line in our cloud services for small and mid-sized businesses, which we'll talk a little bit more later about. I echo some of what you've said. There's some real fun, familiar faces out there, so you guys keep smiling. It'll make it less nervous for us up here. And also some new people we've met today. So I love having the opportunity for things like this, and certainly appreciate the opportunity to have this and the matchmaker. So we were founded in 1999 right here in Kansas City. We're headquartered in Overland Park, and they have a small office in Crossroads. And we really, really value being a partner. And companies like you see up here, and like you see with hosting us, etc. Any of you working with these companies know that as a WBE, if we're treated like a partner, we add so much more value than if we're treated as a vendor in the four-letter word version of vendor. So I would tell you that what we do at Adams Gabbard and how we deliver our solutions, we think is absolutely as important as what we do and who we work with. And our team, we're growing. You can see, I'm not going to read to you the bio in the pamphlet, but we've enjoyed some amazing growth, and that's due to the team that we've assembled and created. And we've created our own little diverse team internally. We were talking earlier, it's like the diversity of thought that comes from having a very diverse workforce internally, as well as what we work with externally, is what makes us better, because we don't want to all be great at the same things, and we don't want to all be terrible at the same things. And if you hire everyone just like yourself, that's what you get. So there are days that I would love if we were perhaps a little bit less diverse in thought. But 99.9% of the time, and I see a couple colleagues in the back there, they're probably laughing, but truly have the opportunity to work with amazing people, and I thank you for hosting us here.
Absolutely.
My name is Mary McNamara, and I own Cornell Roofing and Sheet Metal. We are a commercial roofing and sheet metal company that was founded in 1927. In 2007, I took basically everything I owned and, so to speak, put it on black, which would be asphalt and roofing material. So it's been a great challenge, but I also really wanted to thank KCP&L for hosting the event, but also for the Women's Business Development Center, as well as for Deluxe and US Bank. It's programs like this and programs like what we had upstairs that really does make a difference and it has made a significant difference in my company. And I can't thank you enough for having us here.
Okay, so now you got to know everybody. We've got a series of questions that we'll just start with and see where the conversation goes. So thought we'd start first with a question for our corporate panelists, Gina and Valerie and Chris. One of the things that we certainly experience is, and as I talk to my peers in procurement, and this is something I always hear as a challenge when I talk to our diverse suppliers as well, and that is the trend towards for corporations to do more vendor consolidation. That's something that I know we at KCPL have been working on, but like I said, many corporations are working on that, and main reason is so that we can manage fewer suppliers, right? But when you do that, it sometimes can create a challenge for diverse suppliers. So question for the corporate panelists, how do you remain inclusive of MWBEs and still meet your corporate procurement objectives?
So, you want to start?
Sure, I'll go
Okay.
first.
Okay.
We at Sprint make supplier diversity not only the responsibility for our supply chain organization, but everyone throughout our company, right? So what we do is we make sure that for each sourcing engagement that we do, there's a requirement that diverse suppliers are included. You have to check a box. Our tool says, yes, you included someone, and no, and we keep track of that. So what we do is we try to make sure that they always have opportunity, whether we're consolidating or adding new suppliers to our supplier base each and every day. We have two goals in our company. The first one is diverse spend, and we also have another goal of inclusion of diverse suppliers and participation in every sourcing event. And that goal is 65% is what we try to include, make sure that they're included. So it's not just supply chain goal, we make that goal included across the company.
And that's the opportunity I think we have at Hallmark. We have not adopted that, so I'm looking at Angelique Hill back there and going, yep, got that one, because I do think that is an opportunity for sure. I also think we can help make connections for second-tier opportunities. So by that, what I mean is if you offer a unique capability, we can help match you up with one of our primary suppliers, and maybe you can provide a second-tier support to us. And so that's another way we've been able to do that on occasion from time to time very successfully. What we're looking for at Hallmark out of our supply base is innovation and cost reduction. So if you can help us bring a solution that drives that, an innovative service, an innovative capability, or do what we do just more cost effectively because you're more flexible and you don't have the overhead of larger companies, that's going to be more compelling than supply-based consolidation for us, either of those goals. So I would just say those are the things we're looking for, always trying to think about second tier and going toward the inclusion in our RFPs, for sure.
Yes, she brought up a great point. We at the corporation sometimes thinks we know everything, but we don't often do that. So you guys you see what's going on out there in the industry. We're always looking for ideas, things that we may have not thought of. So these are your opportunities to show the value you bring so that you can come in and help us be better.
Mm-hmm. Great. Now, Chris, I know you've worked on both sides of the fence, right? With your past with the Minority Supplier Council and all that. Do you have any recommendations in drawing from all those past experience about how to build stronger relationships with small and diverse businesses?
First of all, I do want to say ditto to what they're saying. The only difference with MCC is we do not have goals. And that's something that we're hopefully looking forward to, but as a public entity, that's something pretty hard for us to do. My advice, because the educational industry is so different, we buy everything. I mean, really, publishers, we buy books, and most everything is geared towards student success. But in addition to running the business on a daily basis, and one thing that I always stress, which has been very helpful to me, is diversifying. Look beyond what you're doing now. See what else that you can do to add to your product line, because it might be something that maybe the corporate entities do not need, but the educational industry does. Like I said, we're so different, and so I'm always looking for the diversity in your product lines to enhance what we're looking for from MCC standpoint. So
Great,
that is definitely something, and I don't know if this is something that's going to be on your list of questions, because I didn't get them, so I'm going to be, I'm really shooting.
She's
from
doing
the-
good.
Yeah. I say, and I really don't like this word, but if you're going to do business with MCC on some of our larger projects, we need to look at strategic alliances. Ooh. And joint ventures, things of that nature that might be on there, but and not with the mainstream corporations, with each other, each other, because then you help each other to grow.
That was a perfect lead-in. Yeah. So that was going to be one of the next questions is, what are some things that, unless you want to expand on it, but so yeah, what are some of the things that small businesses can do to compete with large firms? And are you open to teaming, joint ventures, and strategic alliances?
I think we're not only open to it, we're encouraging it. I was asking my team for some examples as we were coming into this. A janitorial services company could partner with a janitorial supply company and present a solution that gives us both of those, and we don't have to negotiate two separate deals. So that would be the kinds of things. We have a relationship with a local direct mail and marketing company who's come in and understood what our needs are and really looking at innovation. They're investing in new equipment to expand their capabilities to do more through new equipment. So one of the things I would say to you, kind of to even Maria's previous question, is go out and understand what your customers' needs are. Try to listen and think about where can you play that broader role? Where can you expand what you do beyond just what's in a niche to something broader and serve a more end-to-end capability?
I agree as well. I think that opportunity for you guys to work together is one that just hasn't been taken advantage of by a lot of small business and diverse businesses. I think we always look for you always look for us to partner you with a majority firm. But if there's an opportunity and you see it's too large for you to manage, why not get your friend down the street or someone that you've met at a conference, get together and put the power together and you guys bid as a big firm together. That way everybody wins. I just think those are great opportunities that we have failed to take advantage of and make big companies out of small companies.
And that's an advantage of an event like this. It's not only meeting these large corporations, but it's meeting each other and looking for those teaming opportunities. We hosted a CPO lunch, a year or so ago, and we only had 3 suppliers, and 2 of them walked out and did business together. And we laughed, but that's awesome when that happens, right? It's growing everybody's business, so it was really good.
And just by a show of hands, how many have attended the procurement one-on-ones and the MWBE trade show that many of us have participated in? I actually know that many of you have networked with each other and you are doing business with each other. And that was exciting for me to know. If you are the prime on a contract, look for opportunities to subcontract with your peers in the industry, because that helps as well. Not only you, but it helps our numbers. We got second tier going here. A lot of us have talked about that. You are so creative. And that's one reason why I love doing business with you. But learn to be more creative with each other. Learn to be more creative with each other.
Great. Well, thank you, you guys. Some really great advice. So we're going to turn our attention now to the WBEs. And Denise, you have had such success as an entrepreneur, and I know you have such a passion too for giving back to the community. So I was just wondering if you could share some of your growth and corporate procurement relationship building strategies that have helped Adams Gabbard be recognized as one of the country's most successful companies.
Well, thanks, Maria. Yes, passion is definitely something that I have with that. We're, from a nonprofit standpoint, I'll start with that and move into the growth because I think it's tied together. The doing the right thing, part of our mission is that we deliver on our promises to our clients, our associates, and our community, and we do believe you have to do all three. But it's not just about writing a check, although checks are always, I don't think there's a nonprofit that would not take a check, but it's not about that. It's about what are we doing together to make an impact, because there's really skill sets, and I'll often go to a nonprofit and say, while we can stuff envelopes with the best, there are some other skills that we can provide to you that might really impact your business. So things like that I think are very important. Serving on boards and making sure that we're injecting some business leadership into that is critical. It's part of our DNA. I don't believe there's a single person in my internal team at Adams Gabbard that isn't actively engaged in at least one, if not more, nonprofits. We take time off of work, we do things together, we close the office and go do things together, we do whatever. I mean, it's just part of who we are, and we do believe that it makes us better. I had a new hire once look at me as we were serving food at Restart and looked at me and said, and this is why I'm here. So I do think that's important. From a growth standpoint, I think that we've brought on the right people, which goes back to sometimes the people that you hire are the people that in our culture, it's who gives back to. We have defined a culture that's very strong at Adams Gabbard, and we're work hard, play hard. And we are crazy. You'll see us working all week together, and then you'll see us playing in the evenings and weekends together. And we do a lot of nonprofit things together and as well. But in our growth in procurement, I think genuine caring about the other person matters. And if it's just about, I am here to talk to someone from procurement and see how I can get a contract, that will come out loud and clear. So I think it's about how do you genuinely care, and it's a long journey. It's not a, no offense, sprint, but it's a long journey. And there's relationships that, I mean, we've traveled together. We've gone to We Bank national things together, some of us, and there's nothing like getting to know each other when you're together, when you're working on a community board together, etc. Because if you're really genuine about serving others, and that's clients, that's like the associates, and that's the community, that will come through. And in a procurement relationship, building that trust that you are there to do the right thing for the right people, I think is first. After that, then making sure that you are telling your story and not being afraid. And I think, and I can say this being a woman, I think sometimes we as women are afraid to tell our story that we are the best at it. And I think about this, if I needed to go to a brain surgeon, I am not going to pick the one that says, I'm pretty good. I'm okay. I don't want to toot my own horn and leave it at that. Well, you know what? That's not the neurosurgeon I'm picking if I need brain surgery. I'm wanting the one that says, I am the best you can find. Here's my credentials. Here's what I can do specifically for you. That's, I think, our responsibility as a supplier with procurement is to say, you know what? We are, at Adams Gabbard, we are really good at what we do. We are exceptional. Our growth, we've quadrupled in the last 4 years. Why? Because we're doing the right things. Well, there's lots of that, but I'm not afraid to tell you what we're doing, why we can do it for you, because again, I want you to pick. We will make a difference for you. And as I say, you know, the rest of our lives, we're not afraid to go and find the best of whatever it is. Childcare, same thing. Do you want the babysitter that says, I'm decent with kids? Not great. So go be the best at what you are, and then make sure your story, you can tell it.
Oh, that's great.
That was great. Can I say ditto? Actually, I absolutely agree. You have to, you really do. I come back to, I am so honored and privileged to be able to give back to the community by what I'm doing with my company. That's a major priority for me. Buying an existing business, I had to change the face of the company in order to gain the confidence of the suppliers and the customer base that I actually could do what I had told them that I can do and that I'm the best at. And that takes time. And you have to be persistent, but you also have to stick behind what's your plan. I sit on several different boards, and it has allowed me to become known in my community just through that service work. And you're going to meet people who you never know that are going to come and refer, say, hey, I sit on this chamber board with Mary. Go call her. She'll do okay. She'll get your stuff done. And that's really what it takes. It really for all the WBs that are starting out and saying, how do I get to know these people? And you come into a room like this and you're really intimidated because, look at all these ladies, they all know each other. Come and participate. Join what association you belong to, or your Chamber of Commerce, or your economic development community. Join and participate and get to know that business community. So that's one of the tools that you can use to succeed.
Mary, I was wondering if you could just expand a little bit too. I mean, you've been very successful in truly a male-dominated industry, and you just share some insights or some stories of your journey along the way.
I know, but I promised I wouldn't cuss. I really did.
We'll beep you.
Yeah. Thank you. It's hard, but it's hard. I don't look like a commercial roofing contractor. I can talk and cuss like one. But, you just, again, how I did it was by joining the Chamber of Commerce's and joining the Economic Development Council and getting to know people, people in those communities. One thing that I'm really fortunate about is before I purchased the company, I was a senior executive for a supplier. So I knew my larger competitors because I sold to them. And so I did know them. And they gracefully have not run me over or anything like that. But it is really about making sure that you're following through on what you're committed to and putting that time in and doing the work that you've been given to do, and to do it in an efficient, professional manner. It doesn't matter if I'm a female or if I'm a kangaroo, but I'm here to replace your roof and to make sure it's good and it's quality, and then I'm going to get off and get paid. It's, no one likes to have their roofs done. So it's kind of an irritant for someone to say, oh my God, they're smelly, they're loud, and everything else. And it's to really just, what I try and do is make that customer just kind of not even know that we're there. So we sit down with that customer and say, okay, we're going to be here in a few days. This is what's going to happen. We're going to park our trucks here. They're going to go up and down. They'll be gone at this time. And you just do your own thing. Do I sometimes get a little feedback from my competitors? And some of it's not positive? Yeah, I do. I just have to keep going. Like I said, I took everything I had and I put it out there, and I really don't want to live in a van down by the river. So
Motivated.
that's an important item.
Yeah, for sure. So before we leave you guys, Denise, you have really broken through with respect to technology, and obviously you can't go anywhere with talking about the impact of technology, and you think about how disruptive some of those forces are going to be down the road. But I was interested in particular with your recent partnership with Microsoft Office 365, and was wondering if you could just share how that partnership came about and how that's gone for you.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're so excited about this. Last year, we decided that we were going to do some research in the market and find out if there was an appetite or a real hunger for this. And we found out there was a ravenous hunger for this. And what that is really coming into, we started focusing on small, mid-sized businesses. Most of our portfolio of businesses in our consulting and our recruiting are larger companies. So this opened up a whole new market. But we started because we ourselves were the victim of this. And we had a CRM system. We had a document storage system. We had a video conferencing system. We had all these different things. We had a project planning document. We had all these different things, and they were all disconnected, and they were all licenses with different vendors, and nothing was on one platform. And we were a partner with Microsoft. We were not certified or anything. But we went to our, at the time, IT providing outsourced company, and they really were not much help. So we said, well, we can't be the only one. So we did to ourselves first. The first thing I will say, let me just cop to the fact that I hired people much smarter than me about this. And before Abby and Justin are cracking up in the background, they would tell you that I always say, if you need anything on IT, just let me know. And they're like, yeah, you'll be our first call. So don't be afraid to hire people much smarter than you in this. You can't wing it. But what we do is we come in and we do an assessment of what is needed versus what you have, because not everyone needs everything. But Microsoft Office 365 has all the things that I mentioned and much more. But with companies that are large, you have big IT departments, you have CIOs, you have Microsoft beating down the door to help a Hallmark or a Sprint or MCC, etc. Not small and mid-sized. You can't get them on the phone. So I had a CEO tell us that actually he was YouTube videoing at night trying to figure out how to do this. So we're better than that. So we come in, we do the assessment for free, and we literally are making an impact with small, mid-sized companies in creating a platform where it's integrated, training on it. They can get rid of all those other licenses and costs, etc. And it's a collaborative way to work that's changing businesses. And so I'm very passionate and very excited about it. It's very cost effective. And that's just one way. And then with the larger companies, we actually have established some great partnerships, like you're talking about some alliances here in town, where we're able to then come in with dynamics, etc., and work with companies that are larger as well. But that came from a need we had that wasn't able to be fulfilled. And then we did something that I had not done as a business owner before, where we invested and hired people before there was a drop of revenue in that line. And that wasn't scary at all. And then they built it. And now we listen to customers. We listen to companies say, this is what we need and this is what's missing. And then we were able to say, and on our website we have a little blog about our own story and what we went through, because there wasn't something like that in town. And so it's so much fun right now.
That's great. I mean, technology can be such a benefit and but it can also be a curse too, right?
My
I mean, it's
8-year-old
hard.
grandson is coding. He's learning to code in school. So I told him, I said, Yaya can get you a job. And he's like, really? Not yet, but some of us didn't learn to code in second grade. So.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. It's intuitive to the younger generation, right?
We were coding like the Christmas Story, where he gets the little thing from the box of cereal or whatever the little guy was. That was my code.
So it is getting easier, but there's still, there's just so many different options and choices, and I know that's something that everybody struggles with.
Yeah.
So.
And I think the unique thing about that is you said you listened to your businesses in town and the feedback they gave, and that's just so important. I think to hear what those needs are, and then think about what you can do to serve those needs, which may not be right within your lane, and you have to develop it. But look at how that worked for you, and I would say that's my advice is to listen to your customers and really squint with your ears to hear. Here's a problem they're encountering, and how can I help them solve that?
It's
feels like you did that. So good job.
Sounds like it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, smarter people than me did it, but yes, we're.
But you
we're
recognize the
definitely-
need.
And we're having so much fun when a small company will say, oh my gosh, this change, it makes things so much better and so much easier. And we have security now, and we have all these things, collaborative, getting, because people buy things and add it on and add it on and add it on and add it on until all of a sudden it looks like a camel. So,
Well, and it's changing so fast. It's
Yeah.
so, and if you don't keep up, it
Yeah.
it can become a risk and a liability to your
Yeah.
company as well.
yeah, and the ongoing support, that managed service support, that came about because at first we said we're not going to provide that. And then our customers were saying, no, 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 we need you, please, please. And after like the third no, we're like, well, why are we saying no? So we've built that too. Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
So it's actually a good lead into the next question. So this question surrounds vendor risk and direct back to our corporate panelists. So there is a lot of volatility, uncertainty in the marketplace today. I know, for example, just all the tariffs and tariff talk going on. We've been doing a lot of modeling within our business in terms of what kind of impact that's going to have. I've been getting an earful from many of our suppliers about potential impact on their organizations. If you also think about the cyber risk, going back to the technology issue, cybersecurity is huge. And you know, we're getting hacked. We're all getting hacked every single day. And so how do we protect ourselves from that and protect ourselves from being, you know, the next one? And that leads into data protection. Data security and data protection, absolutely important. If you have an issue in your business, it becomes, you know, not only, you know, hey, they could compromise your corporate systems, but also it becomes a reputational risk to yourselves too. If you've got information on your customers or your employees that have gone out into the public. So, you know, I probably preach in the choir. All of these are huge issues. And on top of that, you got geopolitical risk that we worry about. We worry about financial viability risk of our suppliers. And so supply chain risk management is something that I know from a corporation standpoint, it's top of our mind. And there's nothing easy about it too. I mean, you know, our first tier suppliers, you can develop relationships with them and do some things to try to mitigate those risks. But supply chains are broader than just that. They go down layers and layers and layers, and so it's hard. And then you layer in corporate or government regulations. I know in our business we have just tons of regulations, and they're proliferating every day in terms of how they expect us to manage our supply chain risk. I know some of you guys are facing those same issues. So just throwing it out to the panelists, how do you view and how do you evaluate supplier risk, and what kind of impacts are you seeing on that in your business today?
So for Sprint, we have a risk management department that we work very closely with on each one of our sourcing engagements. In each of our contracts, we have to require certain insurance, things from crime and fidelity insurance, media insurance. Those are important for when we're doing things that on the website. We have to have professional liability insurance. Sometimes those policies that we require are $5 million and above. It just depends upon the value of the agreement. So I know for small businesses and minority-owned businesses, sometimes that's a challenge to try to meet and have those type of policies in place. But being a regulated company, the one that's really important for us is the requirement to protect personal information. We have to make sure that you as a Sprint customer, that we guarantee you that the data you give us, we're going to protect it. And we have to have our suppliers willing to sign up to help us ensure. I did some research, and talk to our office, but if we violate just one time sharing customer privacy information, that's an $18,000 fine for each time that is shared. So if it gets out, that could be a lot of money for our company. So that's why we have to require that in our contract, so that anybody works for us, they have to be willing to help us protect that information of our customers.
And I would say we have a very similar requirement at Hallmark, and ours is as much brand oriented. It's protection of our brand as opposed to just regulation. We can't afford to have breaches that are tied to the Hallmark brand that impact your view of us as a company and our ability to protect your data. So we have a process that you have to go through, and admittedly, it has been really hard. So if you've worked with us like a year and a half to 2 years ago, I think some people just found it to be extraordinarily difficult. I think we are learning as we go and becoming more streamlined and learning how to help suppliers succeed in meeting the requirements, but it's challenging. It's a hard one to solve for sure. We also look at financial viability, especially with small businesses and with those with whom we're going to give a lot of business to. We are about to sign a software deal with a small business company, and we've done a ton of diligence because they're growing. They only started their business in 2008. And they're growing, and it's like we don't want to shift all of our software and find that you're not financially viable. So we've done a lot of due diligence. What I would say is with that company in that situation, it's been a lot of transparency between us and them, and they've been great to work with us and share, hey, here's where we are, here's our future plans, here's the revenue we have in the pipeline, here's how we get our funding. They've been very transparent, so that's helped us build that confidence in the financial side. Internationally, we're dealing with risk from a tariff perspective, which is kind of new. Okay, so if we buy this from you, are we going to be at risk for paying more because it's going to be tariffed one way or the other? So those are the kinds of things in a geopolitical way we're looking at. So risk from a corporate perspective is broad and all-encompassing. And I would just say we're working through ways to become better at staying on top of it. We're trying to start using some technology to help us stay on top of it, but it is a challenge. And so what I appreciate is transparency, when we can talk about what the issues and concerns are, when suppliers can say, hey, I can't meet this, what can we do to work together to figure this out? There are some things we can't bend on at all, and other things we can go get an exception and say, hey, give you time. So there are, it's not all hard and steadfast, but the protection part is critical for our brand.
That's absolutely correct. So, but again, it's just being, like she said, open and talking to the person you're working with in the supply chain organization and being upfront when something doesn't work for you and figuring out how can we make this work. Because we want you guys to be part of our supply chain, and we'll work with you as best as we can to make that happen.
I'm not sure I can answer that question fully without being able to do some investigation on it. But some of the things I hear you saying, I am familiar with, and ditto. We all need the liability insurance and other things of that nature. But something that I discovered most recently that has been very difficult for me with MCC and Find Diverse Suppliers, that there are certain chemicals and other things that that we use that require certification to use those chemicals. And I was not able to find any diverse supplier that could help us with that. They could apply the paint, but there were certain other chemicals that you had to be certified to use, and you may be able to identify with that, Mary. So I would say if you're, and again, I can't stress this enough, there are many similarities in what we have with the private sector, the public sector, but with the educational institution, there are so many minute differences that may appear to be minute to some, but is major for me. And so it's very, very hard sometimes to be able to find diverse business owners to do those things. So I'm saying this to you: if you're working with particular chemicals, products, or something like that, and there's something that requires a certification that you feel that you don't need, go ahead and look into it to see if it's a possibility for the future. I see some people shaking your heads. You must know what I'm talking about there, because it is rather difficult for me sometimes to be able to find diverse suppliers to do that. But pretty much ditto in some of the other things, but then other things you're talking about are a little foreign to me because I've not had an opportunity to investigate.
So,
I got dry eyes, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
tearing up because of that. So may I have a Kleenex?
Maria, I'll get you one. Okay, there's Becky. So we just got done talking about risk from a corporate angle and how we view it and try to protect ourselves. But I want to flip the tables and talk to Mary and Denise. So can you give us your perspective? Because when you guys contract with corporations, you are assuming
Yes.
risk as well, right? So
just an FYI.
what are those kind of risks that you have to think about on your end when you do business as well?
Just a little bitty FYI, years ago I did a job for Sprint downtown on one of their main switching centers, and if I had shut down the Sprint network, I would have been charged $30,000 for each minute that the network was shut down. That's a risk. So,
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, but we, as a small business owner, our risk is very wide ranged. One, we have to have insurance in order to be able to work with the larger, we simply have to have insurance simply because of what we do. In my field of work, I work in a very dangerous profession in terms of accidents. And so how I best manage that risk is I have a very strict safety program that I adhere to, and I also, everyone can put out, this is your safety program, but you have to enforce that safety program because, again, one of the highest fatalities, construction is one of the highest fatality industries that you can work with. So I'm very stringent on safety. If there are safety violations, there are days off. There's actually absolutely no warning. There is days off given. But it also, to manage some of that risk, is to have a culture and a training program for all of your employees as to what are the rules of the road, so to speak, in terms of what you can do, what you can't do. And it is not just done, you know, oh, we're going to have a safety meeting just this year. It's a matter of having safety meetings every day, every week, every month, but also to enforce, you know, to certainly enforce some of those safety ones, and to be able to communicate it to the suppliers, to the vendors, because you need to know, because actually what happens when I go up on work on any of your, at the tops of any of your buildings, that's my work site, and it becomes my fault if I accidentally shut down the Sprint network. Thank God we didn't. But that's my responsibility, and so you have to really work with your employees to make sure that you're doing those things right. But also on financial, I completely understand the financial issues. Certainly with a small business, when you're using a small business and entering into business with that very small business, what I'd like to encourage the many WBEs, make sure you're doing your financial statements every month, so you can actually manage your financial risk, and you can kind of see out into the future. Am I going to have a cash flow problem? Do I need to perhaps, you know, plan for that in another 60 days? Do you see this coming? So that when you get to, and this is a risk because if I get to that week and I can't make that payroll, that's a planning issue. You can kind of push that out and see, and you can reduce that risk, because that risk would put your business in jeopardy. But to really manage that risk, it's a very significant issue for us. Lots of times we'll provide a warranty for that roof that we work on for anywhere from 10 to 20 years. Chemicals, installations, being approved by certain suppliers to put down those systems is also understanding that from a buyer's standpoint is not everybody can buy all products and install all products. And everyone knows Microsoft certification, everything else. But again, when you come over to the construction side, there's not a large amount of knowledge about that. But you have to understand, in my industry, covering a large building is a lot different than just covering your house.
So I would add, because not being in the construction industry, we're not in some of those places, but we have consultants in all company locations, right? So our consultants are doing the work inside the client business. So we don't have control over that work site, and it's less of a safety like you're talking about. But we had someone this past year, the first time, that said that she was feeling like she was being discriminated against and harassed by the person from the client who was assigning her work. Well, there's nothing more fun than to get to call the client and tell them that, right? That's a super fun day. So we had to handle that very delicately all the way around, because she's screaming harassment, attorney, discrimination, and I have a client that I need to take care of, and we ended up working it out terrific, and we did help her see that perhaps being on site there over time, long term, was not going to be in her best interest, and we had to pay her weeks out of our pocket, not bill the client. But it ended up being, it was the right thing to do for our client, for our associate, and in this case, not the community in that particular thing. But those kinds of things are different risks. We have risks when clients don't pay us on time.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one, and I know some of you can relate to that. And it doesn't have to be because the company doesn't have the money. You're like, oh, they're a big company, they're a ABC company, of course they're going to pay. Lots of glitches can happen with big companies and invoices don't get paid. When third-party administrators in our business are involved in the middle, we often have delays in payments because there's more hands touching it, more things. We've had that, one of our biggest clients we just went through that with, and there was not a lot of sleep. So, I mean, it's very much a risk, and you have to have the resources, you have to have all of that to be able to cover that. But again, those conversations, if you're not a partner, that's not the conversation that you're able to have about that. So you have to have that relationship as a partnership prior to the first time that you have an issue. Is not when you walk in and go, I really want to be your partner. They're like, yeah, you do. You really want to check. So
They see right through that.
Right. So, but those are huge risks. And we have consultants in 34 or 5 states now for clients. We are not, I mean, we're here. So we can't be there to see what they're experiencing, and are they really being offered the breaks and all that.
Well,
so from a risk of employment in California, which...
Just understanding the different state laws in each state has got to be huge.
It's huge, in taxes and all of those things.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of those are risks that we bear as a small business. And so if any of you large companies, feel free to sign those invoices and
Send them through.
less than time than what you need.
Send them through.
Well, I think we could probably talk for a couple hours about risk, that's for sure, on both sides. So I'm told we need to go through closing comments, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. This time went by super fast. I can't believe it. So as we close, and speaking as a leader in your organization and considering how the current economy is impacting procurement trends, what parting words of advice do each of you have for entrepreneurs looking to secure contracts and close their business, grow their business? Anybody who wants to start?
I'll start. We had this conversation just a little bit earlier about persistence.
Yes.
Mary talked about she worked for with you guys for 12 years before she was able to get a deal, but she didn't give up. She kept coming back.
I think that was Hallmark.
It was Hallmark.
Oh, sorry. Not Gabrielle, Hallmark. Yes, but it was persistence. You know, that's important. So if you don't succeed the first time, always come back and say, you know, what could I do better? What can I do better next time? What information did I not provide? How did I not fill out the RFP correctly? Did I not provide enough examples? Did I not give you success stories? Did I not provide the right data that you were looking for in that RFP. And then always stay in touch with that person. It's about building relationships. I love for people to follow up with me when things don't go well on an RFP, to say, hey, when's the next one coming up? Here's what I can do. Maybe I didn't win this time, but next time, can you make sure that I'm included? Another thing is take advantage of social media. I don't know how many of you guys like Facebook or Instagram, but have your web pages right. Make sure that you're highlighting what's very important to you and what you're successful as, what you do well. That's very important. And then, again, the comments that were made earlier about understanding what's important to your client. Again, we don't know everything. We are always looking for ideas, ways to do things better, cheaper, faster. So that kind of information you bring to us is very valuable. And again, work with the people that are in the room here today. There's so much knowledge, so much talent in these rooms. Partnering, working together can make everyone in this room better.
So all of that, ditto. I would say, it's all about those relationships. So we rely heavily on certifications. So get your certifications if you don't have them. Keep those up to date. Join in events like this so that you're making those connections, so that we get to know you, and so that there's an opportunity for us to know you and for you to know each other, as we've talked about. I think referrals are really, really helpful, just like they are when you're doing job hunting on your own. Knowing somebody that you've worked with, and for them to go on your behalf and say, I worked with this company and had this great experience, makes a big difference. I think that's what you said was part of the...
Absolutely.
So 12 years, so be persistent and have a referral, which was part of how that ended up working for you. So, and that's
And
later
we
this
can't
year.
wait to start the job either.
Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, definitely think that's important. We talked about doing your homework. We've talked about a lot of challenges that we encounter here today. So where can you serve those needs? I think that critical listening ear on where are those opportunities that I can step up, I can help you. I heard you talking about that being a concern. Just exactly like what you talked about, Denise, and let me see if I can help solve that for you. Those innovations are tremendously helpful for us to hear what your creative perspectives might be. So that's my ones that you covered all the rest of them. So anything else for you? Of course.
I would after 25 years.
Yes.
Ditto, again. But I would share with you that supplier diversity is hard. Mm-hmm. Being an advocate for you is very hard. And it's not that our organizations do not want to do business with you. We have to help them understand how to do business with you. And when you are not prepared, it makes it hard for us. So I would say not only for what I go by are 3 Ps, and I think this can apply to everybody in this room: prayer, persistence, and perseverance. I'll repeat that again: prayer, persistence, and perseverance. And that is what I live by, and that is what I operate by to make supplier diversity a success for Metropolitan Community College. And again, it's not because we don't want to, sometimes it's because we don't know how, and we need your help. So I ask that you be patient with all of us, but get to know our companies as we try to get to know yours. One thing that helps me, because I always have to verify if you are MWBE, it helps a lot if you can put your certifications on your websites so that I do not have to call you or dig through a lot of information to find out who you are. I've been to many of these events, and I hear WeBank share with you all the time. Show your certifications and be proud of them, because they're not easy to come by. But think about how it's going to help us. I don't have to dig through a lot of information or call you, because right there on your home page, I see the certification. So that's a little more that I can add.
Denise, Mary, any closing comments?
Just, love your businesses, like what you do. It's hard work. You can do it. Participate with groups that you can do. Come to events like these. Utilize the SBA. Utilize the small business development centers. the women's small business. There's so much out there that can be at no cost. That's wonderful, and I'm smiling at a wonderful lady that's going to be our advocate for the SBA soon. But really to utilize so much of that that is out there at no charge that you can really make a difference with your company. That's one of the benefits I had of how I even got started. I didn't have enough money to start the company. I had to go and borrow. But I got an SBA. I went with the SBA to the banker and said, here, the SBA is willing to, guarantee a portion of this so you can get through that, and to utilize all those resources that you can get your hands on for free.
I have two things. One is develop an incredible banking relationship.
Oh, yeah.
It is not, don't get a bank, and I see some banking friends out here. Don't say I have a bank. Develop an incredible banking relationship. You can call them on their cell phone. You can tell them you need help. They can take a risk with you when they maybe shouldn't because they believe in you. And 4 years ago when we were launching our payroll line of business and we landed what is one of our biggest clients, and they said, great, here's what we want to give you right away to get started. And I'm like, excellent. And I hang up the phone. I'm like, oh, crap. Because we have to pay all those people for several weeks, float that payroll and pay them before, and then invoice after they do the work, and then wait for 30 days, and then get paid. So I said, I am going to need a line of credit, and I'm going to need to, I don't deserve it quite on my books at that time, 4.5 years ago, to the degree that I wanted. But my banker said, you know what, Denise? Banks don't loan money to companies. Bankers loan money to people who own companies. And I will never forget that.
I sit on a bank board of directors now, and that's true.
Yes. So if you don't have a banking relationship, you walk out of here and tomorrow you do that. And Kansas City has so many wonderful banks. I'd be sorry if I didn't shout out UMB for having my back all these years. So I will say that. The second thing I'll say for entrepreneurs is, as Wayne Gretzky said, you make no shots that you don't attempt. You can miss 100% of the shots that you don't attempt. So while there's risk, go for it. Make sure it's a calculated risk, but go for it. He said, good hockey players go to where the puck is. Great hockey players go to where the puck's going to be. So go where the puck is going to be as much of the time as you can, and take the shot.
I love hockey, so I love that analogy.
I know, I do too.
That's great. So I just want to thank all of our panelists. This was a great discussion. Thank you so much for taking your time and pouring out all of your words of wisdom. So I think we can do a couple questions, okay?
Yes, please. Hello. I'm fortunate enough to work at KC SourceLink, and I get to match a lot of people to these resources, especially Chris. My question is, though, if it was not for programs like the Women's Development Center, procurement offices, certification places, hub zones, things to that effect, do you feel that we will still be at the same place? Or do these organizations and inclusion and diversity committees have to exist for this to happen?
My opinion is we're farther with them than we would be. I think the commitment is there, but having organizations like the WBDC to help both match companies and potential suppliers, as well as help develop suppliers, is just a really important resource that probably just may not get done if you didn't have that in the middle. I think we'd still have a commitment to diversity for the business reasons I talked about earlier, and so trying to build supplier diversity would be important, but I think having access to organizations like this make it go farther faster.
Yeah.
Add to
Good
that.
answer.
Yeah.
I would agree with her answer, definitely.
Yes. I have to stand on this one.
Okay, go ahead.
I worked for the Minority Supplier Council, and I was the first program coordinator for Marion Laboratories. And there's a business owner in this room, Marilyn Townsend, CEP, reached out to me and introduced me actually to supplier diversity. But I did not know anything further than what she shared with me until I connected with the council, and then eventually became a part of the council. And I would say to you that yes, as an organization, as a corporate entity or a private entity, we can try and do supplier diversity, but we would get no further without these other organizations, because there's no one else to turn to help us as corporate members to understand what it's all about, to implement a program, to be first class, best practices. There's no way we could make it without you. And I will share this with you, that if we were doing it right, I wouldn't have to have a job. Supplier diversity would take care of itself. And look how many years, I think since 1989 or so, we've been talking about supplier diversity. If we were doing it right today, I wouldn't have to have a job in supplier diversity. So answer to that question, yes. We need all of the organizations. We need to be members of these organizations, and we need to help support them in every way that we can.
I just wanted to make one quick comment. I manage supplier diversity for Sprint, and I've gone to bat. I've championed a lot of minority, women-owned businesses with our Sprint executives. But once I get that company in front of our executives, they freeze. They can't market their company. They're lost for words. So my word of wisdom is to be prepared. Ensure you know how to market your company and be able to give that 3-minute elevator speech that will really impress an executive once you have the opportunity to meet with them.
Good comment. Good comment.
Any other questions? We have time for one more.
Thank you. One quick solution for that is called Toastmasters. How to put a plug in for that. But I do have a question for you all. If there was a skill set that you see is missing, just one nugget that would help us as women business owners present better, come across better, look a little bit more professional, what would that be?
One that I see a lot is, as Joyce said, being able to tell your story. You know, what's so unique about you? I mean, there's 100 staffing companies that call us every day. What sets you apart from everybody else? That's what's going to get you in the door and keep you there, is that uniqueness.
I would say confidence. Work on being confident. Your male counterparts who own their business are very confident. Women tend to be more humble, and there's virtue in that. But when it comes to competing for the business, you know, people see that. So be confident, and don't be afraid to tout the things that you can do in a way that helps instill confidence in the buyers that you can do what you say you're going to do.
Yes, so in other words, right, take the shot, be the best neurologist, all of those things, right? But I would also say be honest about what you can do and what you can't do. I think it is absolutely as important for any business, but especially as a small business, to say, you know what, that particular thing is not my area of expertise. I can introduce you to someone who it is and bring in that person, but that will go, because you're wanting a long-term relationship, not a quick win. So if you can say, you know what, I can collaborate with someone, I can bring someone in, someone that I trust, so I will know they will do a good job for you, etc. And then here's the things that we do best. Here's the things that you would not want to have a need for and not have a conversation with us about. Because it's not going to take long for everyone to figure out that you weren't telling the truth about it being your sweet spot and it being your skill set. So be honest about what you're great at and be honest about what you're not as great at, and then see if you can help them find a solution.
Well, and also understand, this is to add to your answer, Denise, is to understand it is a step-by-step process. It is not, you can't bite off more than you can chew. If your sales are $1 million right now, you are not going to go after, you shouldn't go after that $3 million contract, because that $3 million contract, you'll either succeed or you'll sink yourself. But it is incremental, gradual growth, and it's a slug. It is definitely a slug out there, but you got to do it because you'll learn something along that way, and you don't want to give yourself a death blow by winning some enormous contract that you can't do.
You can't go after that $3 million contract, but you can bring 2 of your friends so you can get the $3 million.
Yes, you can.
One thing I'm going to share with you that I have experienced through my years in supplier diversity is, and let me just say this, don't ever let your guard down. You can be a good friend with me and we can build a great relationship, but I will tell you that at many networking events, you have discounted yourself with me because you become too relaxed and you start talking too much about things I don't need to know about. And one thing that's going to turn me away from you is if you speak negatively of a competitor. We've got to be professional at all times, no matter how friendly we are with each other. Do not let your guard down. Remain professional at all times.
Maria, you get the last word.
Oh. I just want to thank you all for being here again, and I want to thank the panelists foremost as well, especially Chris, who with the phenomenal job with pinch hitting in on this. So thank you. So
I don't think that was a great enough applause for all that we. Well, personally, on behalf of the Women's Business Development Center, our president and CEO, Amelia, who is Domenko, who's traveling today, Anne, and all of our colleagues and the volunteers who helped today, we want to thank everybody. We want, again, a special thanks for our host, Kansas City Power and Light, and the rest of your name, which I never get the whole thing right, so we know who we're talking about. I do want to end, though, by bringing up something. You saw me start the applause when you were talking about organizations like the WBDC being needed. The WBDC is only strong because of people like yourselves. We need you to support us. We need you to be involved with us. And there are so many ways you could be involved, not only as corporate partners, but as women business enterprises. You can volunteer. You could be part of the certification committee. You could be part of the ambassador and advisory committee. You could mentor. There are many, many ways to be involved, and it's important to be involved. And we need you to be involved and are hopeful that throughout the year you will attend programs and squeeze us dry because we're here to serve you. And speaking of serve, we have a wonderful, wonderful display of food from Central Catering Company, and we have drink. And as I was walking downstairs, I talked to one of the WBEs who had been in a matchmaker, and she said the matchmaker was really terrific, but also terrific was the fact that she met 3 new businesses that she thought she could do deals with. So now is the time, and please everybody go forth, enjoy yourselves. We have a wonderful facility. We have wonderful friends with our corporate partners and our WBEs, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for participating with us.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all so much for having me, and I want to thank you for the work that you're doing to empower women and to create diversity and get everybody a seat at the table, because I do think it's important that as we try to move forward, that we try to move forward with everyone. The fact is that women are underrepresented in a lot of different places. They've been underrepresented in the business community at the higher levels. That's absolutely sure. They've been underrepresented in government. I think that's starting to change a little bit, thank God. They've been underrepresented in leadership capacities in a lot of different places. And in general, we need to take a look at how we are integrating people into our systems, because the systems are the things that we really use to churn out results. And if women are not part of the system, then I don't think that the results will be as favorable to everyone as they need to be. So we want women fully participating, not just in family life, which I think, I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm the most enlightened guy, and I am very happy that my children are gone, because it's a lot easier now to take care of things than it used to be. But you didn't see me doing a whole bunch of laundry and cooking a lot of meals. I cook more now than my wife does, but that's because that was the deal I made. I said, well, we can cook for two, I'll cook, you know. It doesn't take that long to boil hot dogs. But we need everybody involved. If we're going to be civically engaged, then I think we have to be engaged with everybody. I particularly want to talk a little bit about the work that we've been able to do with our Women's Empowerment Program and the things that we've been able to do with the Women's Appointment Project. You know, we started that in response to some real live problems that we were seeing in City Hall. You know, basically our WE program started because one of the members of my staff, after having a baby, two things happened. One, she was not getting much leave time. She really had to take all of her vacation time and sick time, and I thought, well, that's weird. That wasn't the way that it was when I had my own office. But I hadn't thought about it until it came face to face with me. And then when she was breastfeeding, she was having a difficult time finding a place that really was, you know, appropriate, frankly. It was a closet, basically. And I didn't think that made any sense. So we just started having this internal conversation in the office, and I mentioned it to Joni, and that's really all you have to do if you know Joni, is just mention it. And all of a sudden things started happening, and don't say that's true, because I'm trying very hard to wean Joni from the idea that she's the boss of me. It's not working. It's not working at all. But that's all right. I don't mind. Most of my staff are women, which means that I generally get a lot of stuff done due to very little efforts of my own, but I also tend to be made to look better than I should, often due to little, not very many efforts of my own. But the thing about it was the Women's Empowerment Program starting us to have a conversation. So one of the things that we did was we hooked up with the Women's Foundation, and we wanted to make sure that we were getting more women appointed to boards and commissions. And I had started with the idea of diversifying our boards and commissions when I was elected in 2011. In fact, what we did was we had a big thing over at the Blackwell Sanders firm, or Hush Blackwell, whatever it was named at the time. And people came, and we told them about how we were going to proceed. We asked everybody to put in applications and to tell us 2 or 3 boards they'd really like to serve on, and then we would use that, and it worked pretty well. And we tried to diversify according to age and gender, and also council district and race and all sorts of different factors so that we'd have more diversity, but we still weren't getting the number of women that we needed. We partnered with the Women's Foundation and started the Women's Appointment Project, and as a result of that, we are nine appointments away of women from having reached 100 appointments of women. We've increased our women's participation on our board commissions up to almost 47% now. So we're working on it, and we're getting better. But the other thing was we addressed the issue of paternity leave. Leave after a family has a baby. not just for the women in the family, but for the men as well. Because we recognize two things. And one, if you're stressed out about losing your vacation time and having to use whatever money you have saved, whatever, while you're trying to take care and raise this baby right out of delivery, then that's not good for you, it's not good for the baby, it's not good for the family. But if you have some sort of a safety net, then you don't have to worry about it. You keep your vacation time. And I'm guessing, based on my own limited experiences as a poor-time father, that after you have a kid is when you really need vacation time. Not before. You need it after. So if you use it all up, it's going to take you a year or more to gain any resemblance of vacation time. That seems to be kind of a double negative. So we managed, working with our city manager, to get 6 weeks of paid vacation. And I think this year, we've increased it to 7. I want to try to increase it to 8 before I leave office, and then somebody else can pick it up. But I was really surprised to find out that we were like one of 3 cities in the country who were doing it. We also came up with a decent place for women to breastfeed and to do it feeling with some level of respect and dignity. But the basic bottom line is that one of the things that I know intuitively, and I know especially now because I've spent time with people who are able and willing to educate me about things of which I've been previously ignorant, is that women need to be in every phase of our lives. And having had the pleasure and pain of working with women in my office for the last 7 years, I can tell you that there is a great benefit to that. So I want to thank you for what you're doing. I heard you had a great matchmaking session today. I'm glad to hear that. And the other thing I want to tell you is that when I look out on this audience, I don't have to do what I do with a lot of audiences. I did it when I was in DC a couple of weeks ago at a function, and I do it here periodically. I will ask a group that doesn't look like this to look around and tell me who's not here, and then to tell me why they're not here, and then to tell me what they plan to do about it. But I don't have to do that here because everybody's here. If there's anything missing, there's probably a few more guys, but that's okay. A lot of times there's all sorts of guys and not very many women. So it all evens out. But I see color, I see age variances, I see all sorts of different things that gives me hope that what you're doing is going to strike a good chord and it's going to be very productive. So I want to thank you for that. I want to encourage you to continue to do that. I want to encourage you to reach out and support each other. And I also want to tell you one thing that's probably not quite out yet, but I'm going to give you a clue. On August 29 in the evening at the Kaufman Center, we are going to have the first of our public conversations about race and equity in this city. And it's going to be a good session. It's going to be training. It's going to be how do we talk to each other. I encourage all of you to come because we need every single person in this city talking about that issue, and in the process of talking about that issue, to talk about this issue, and to talk about all those issues that are so well used right now to divide us and separate us, and to get over it. I don't care what they're doing in DC. DC needs to watch how we do things because it'd be far better off, and this country would be far better run if they did. And it's all because of what you're doing here today, and I want to encourage you to continue to do it, but I also want to encourage you to expand it and to look at the entire milieu of problems that we have communicating and working and living with each other, whether it's race or gender or whether you're gay, straight, or not, or whatever the case may be, if you're immigrant or non-immigrant, if you're Latino or not. All of those things that we use to divide us, if we get over it, then these meetings will no longer be necessary, and we will simply go forward. But I don't think that's going to happen for a while, so keep meeting, keep working, and keep doing what you're doing, and thank you for having me.